Ielts Cast, Episode 20.
You're listening to Ielts Cast, the podcast that puts you in touch with successful Ielts candidates from around the world. Listen and learn as they explain how they achieved Band 7, 8 and even 9. Now, here's your host, Ryan.
Hello and welcome to Ielts Cast. My name is Ryan and today I'm speaking with Sean, an Ielts candidates from China, from Inner Mongolia, China. And Sean has taken the IELTS 2 times. His first time was roughly 8 months ago when he scored an overall band of about 6 or 6.5. And then he took the examination again a few weeks ago and scored an overall band of 8.5. So you can see that Sean has made incredible advancements in his English over the past couple of months, and he has been kind enough to share some time today to tell us how he did it. So hello, Sean, and welcome to Ielts Cast.
Hi, Ryan. It's my pleasure to be here.
So let's start by talking a little bit about your history with the examination. So we were talking before I started the recording, and you took the exam first in Wuhan, China, and then several months later you moved to Australia, and then you took the examination again. So why don't you tell us just very briefly a little bit about your first experience with the IELTS exam?
Okay, the first time I suppose it was quite intimidating. I was preparing for the first time. I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks. I had a lot of trouble with the speaking during the first time. I had no idea what was going on, what I was expecting.
Now, when you did the first experience, you were telling me that you scored about a band 6.5 in speaking. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and then just this recent time, you scored band 8.5.
Right.
Yeah, so maybe we can start with that section then. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, what happened? I mean, the first time you were 6.5, the second time you grew your band by two entire bands. So can you just walk us through the process? What do you attribute this growth to?
Well, I suppose during all these months, I've done sufficient preparation about this test. I'm fully aware of all the little details I'm going to face during this IELTS interview. And I was doing a lot of imitation from the American movies, I think. As you can see, when I speak with an American accent, which cannot be learned in Australia. So basically, it was like this. I would find this movie I really love and choose one character. And I would imitate everything he or she said in every single detail, I think. I would even imitate their voice. That's the best way to practice your pronunciation and intonation and stuff. I'm not really sure I'm saying the right thing.
No, you are actually. Sean, I need to comment here. Your speaking is excellent, really. I can tell that you're enunciating every single word. You speak extremely clearly. So I completely understand why you scored 8.5. Can you walk us through the strategy that you would approach, that you took? You were talking about the movies and the audio. How did you do that? Did you take the audio off of the movies and listen to them, or were you kind of watching the movies and repeating, or?
Well, it was quite simple, actually. I just find that movie, and I would let the actors say their lines, and I would just repeat after them, but with precise details. I suppose if I want to talk about the actual IELTS test, that part, the interview lady was kind of very nice. She was friendly, so I didn't feel nervous at all when I was doing the test. And okay, so here's my strategy. I feel like it's not what I said that really matters. It's how I said it. That's gonna earn me those points. For example, if the examiner asks me, okay, so what is your favorite color? I'm pretty sure she wasn't interested in what my preference is about the color. She actually wanted to know if I can use appropriate language to express my preference about this subject. So I would say, okay, interesting question. I don't think I've ever think about colors at all before. But for the sake of this question, I suppose I would go with purple and then blah blah blah. It doesn't really matter if I fill the answer with all these redundant words. Uh, the important thing is, well, the way I say it.
So okay,
Okay.
so you kind of lead into your answer with a bit of preamble, and then you're saying that,
Okay.
that's what won you marks with the examiner.
Yes, basically that's my strategy dealing with every single question with the IELTS interview.
That's wow. That's a really good piece of advice.
Okay.
It's obviously worked because you
But
got 8.5.
but the thing is, you gotta act as like as if you're doing it spontaneously. You can't show the examiner that you've already memorized all those lines
Right.
because they can tell. I'm pretty sure they can tell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So in, I guess it was about 6 months, you grew the mark by 2 full bands by following the strategy of watching American movies and repeating after the actors, and then following
Okay.
a strategy of how to respond to the questions. And that worked. It got you an 8.5 in speaking. Now, why don't you tell us a bit specifically about the different parts of the speaking exam? So the first part, there's kind of a
Yeah.
conversation between you, and I mean the examiner will ask you a couple of pre-scripted questions.
Mhm.
Now the second part, you give a monologue. Tell us a bit about how you delivered your monologue.
Okay, I remember the question was about talking about this seaside place. I have to pick one place I want to go. Apparently, it has to be a seaside place, and I have to talk about what I want to do in there, and couldn't remember exactly. So my strategy was. They give me 1 minute to let me jot down a few things. So I fully took advantage of those time. I would write down what I want to talk about, the place where it is. Apparently, I chose the Gold Coast, which is somewhere near the Brisbane city. It was an easy target. Okay, so after that, I would write down a few things about the features of that place or what I intend to do when I do get there. And okay, so when my time was up, the interview lady, she asked me to start doing the monologue. And apparently, after about 20 seconds, I just suddenly ran out of words. So I improvised a little bit by adding a few more details about, learning how to swim when I do get there. And the examiner was kind of, okay, so you must be some kind of loser. You actually don't know how to swim. But she didn't really judge me. She was just laughing and watched me getting embarrassed, talking like a fool, something like that. Okay.
Okay, but let me just ask: was that detail, is that a true detail, or is that something you just kind of made up as you were going through the monologue?
I'm pretty sure I fully covered all the points on the topic card.
Yep.
Do you call it the topic card? Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
So after I done the topic card, I just kind of ran out of words, but I've still got a lot of time left, and the examiner is expecting me to say a few bit more. So I just, add a few more details. The learning how to swim part that wasn't on the topic card,
I
but
see.
I guess it was relevant to the seaside place after all. So
Yeah, it sounds like it, and it sounds like the examiner saw it that way as well. So, well, that's great. Now, when you were giving your monologue, did you use a lot of cohesive phrases, like linking words to kind of tie the sentences together, or?
yeah, when it comes to cohesive devices, I suppose I've always been using that kind of words. Like, for example, during our conversation, I was always using. Actually, I'm not sure what I'm using, but I'm pretty sure what I said. I just do it spontaneously with the linking words. Mm, yeah, like for example, or okay, moving on to the next point,
Right.
or off the top of my head, I'm thinking, this kind of stuff. There's a lot of those on the internet somewhere.
So now, Sean,
So,
for maybe there might be a student listening right now that speaks, but they don't have these cohesive devices that you use very naturally. What sort of advice would you give them? I mean, how can they learn how to use them, more naturally in their speaking?
Well, I suppose it can only be achieved by, well, keep practicing. When it comes to language learning, I don't really think there's a shortcut. You're going to find
Yeah.
your own way to develop your language skills or, incorporating all those linking devices into your own language.
Yeah.
It's a long, painful process, no shortcut, but it's really worth the effort, I think.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Now, just regarding the interview, if we go back to that, so when you walked out of the examiner's room, how did you feel? Did you feel confident about your performance, or?
I was pretty sure I was gonna screw up, but surprisingly, the honest lady, she actually gave me a score I couldn't possibly ever imagine. I was kind of a surprise, I think.
Okay. So you didn't walk out of the room thinking you were going to get 8.5.
No, I was thinking, okay, so it's 6.5 again. Okay.
Okay, well, it's a very nice surprise, isn't it?
Yes, it really taken me by surprise.
So I just want to make sure that I've got everything correct here. So the main preparation strategy you used for speaking was to replicate movies. Was there any other
Yes.
major strategy you followed?
Okay, there is this book called, let me think about the name of that book. Okay, I couldn't remember the exact name of that book, but basically, that book tells me it's not what you said that matters, it's how you said that really matters.
Okay.
So, again, it's similar to what I said before. You gotta pay attention to the language itself, not the content of your topic. Let me try to remember the author.
Sure.
I think it was Matt Clark or something. I don't remember exactly.
Okay, I'll see if I can track it down, and I'll put a link on the site so students can get to it if they like. So you say his book is very
Okay.
good. You followed the strategy of watching movies. Were those the two
Yes,
main
it is.
things?
Yeah, I suppose that would be my basic strategies dealing with this speaking test, I guess. Oh, also, I believe the attitude really matters. You can't let yourself to be nervous. Okay, so here's what I did about this. I let myself to believe. Okay, so I come to that interview. The examiner was kind of there. I've already paid all that money. She's there to serve me. I'm the master. I can't let myself to get nervous. I'm going to do it right. So, okay,
That's-
I hope that really helped me overcome that nervous.
That is a very, very good piece of advice, I think. So when you go into the examination, you have to think about it more as the examiner has been paid by you, and you're the one in control here. It's not the other way around. Maybe that helps to
Yes.
give a bit of confidence. So that's good advice. Now, Sean, did you spend much time talking with other people before you took the exam, or was it mainly you were just talking with, practicing by yourself in the mirror or with the movies? What did you do any talking with others?
Okay. I was taking the test right after the semester. I suppose I've done a lot of practice with, Australian domestic students during all those lectures and stuff.
Right.
Perhaps that would help with improving the pronunciation, your grammar and stuff. They would really be friendly and correct my English when they do find a mistake.
Right.
I find that to be really helpful. But I suppose it's not major reason I scored well with this test. I still couldn't figure out what really happened, but I hope what I'm talking about really helps.
Yeah, no, it does, Sean. Trust me. You're giving some really, really good advice today, and I know it's going to help a lot of people. So then just to recap, it sounds like repeating after movies was the number one strategy that you followed. Secondly, you had a very helpful book by an author named Matt Clark, and I'll find out what the title is on the internet later. And thirdly, you did some practice, but you don't feel that this was the main reason. It might have been a helping reason, but it wasn't the main reason.
Because the Australian student, they were talking in Australian accent.
Right.
I don't really understand that accent because it feels like a completely different language.
Yes.
I've been learning about the American English since forever.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of adjusting to do. I still couldn't do the Australian accent, and I don't really think I can understand them most of the time.
Let's move on to writing. Now, you scored 7.5, which is a very respectable mark. What was your
Okay.
mark on the first IELTS? What was the improvement? What did you get the first time you took the IELTS?
Well, I suppose the first time when I did the IELTS test, the writing module was kind of a chaos. I didn't really know what I wrote. It was just like improvise all the time. I
Hmm.
saw the question, I try to answer it without any kind of structure at all, no strategy whatsoever, just writing things out of impulse,
Okay.
improvise
Hmm.
stuff. Okay.
And do you remember
At
your
that
score?
time, yes, I remember specifically I got six during the first time with the writing test
Okay.
because that was my weakest link. That was six.
Okay, so you scored 6, and then your latest you grew to 7.5, and again, that was only in a couple of months. You know, you're really an IELTS success story. I see all of these marks growing like crazy. So I think, students
Okay.
should pay attention to your advice.
I want to say you are the reason I got a 7.5 because the only thing I've been practicing with writing is by reading your book and follow your instructions. And, the other day I was reading that ebook you wrote about task two. I think it was 2010 version on my friend's laptop. I didn't really pay for it. Okay, I'm sorry about that.
Well, yeah, we
But
had that conversation already in our email.
so basically, I find your structure to be really helpful. Okay,
No, I thank
can you
you.
still hear me?
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I'm glad that it was helpful to you. And did you get any feedback? Now, you and I did not work together online, but did
No,
did you get any feedback from another instructor somewhere? Did they tell you where your grammar is incorrect, how to improve, anything like that?
actually, yes. When I was reading a book, I would write the task according to your instructions, and after I wrote the essays, I would ask some domestic students to help me correct my grammar or vocabulary or sentence structure and stuff. I find it to be really helpful because they can immediately tell me what's going on, what went wrong, and where you need improvement. So, yeah, I believe that's really helpful. But eventually, it is your book that's that kind of played the major role with my writing preparation.
Oh,
And yeah, it's not over yet because I'm so going to take another test on December 7th. That's where I believe I'm going to use your instructions again and get the impossible 8,
well, thank you.
hopefully.
Thank you for your kind words, and I do hope that you're able to get that 8. Yeah. So I
Okay.
just want to amplify a little bit, what you've said there, because I also think that it's very important that students they do get feedback from somebody. You got feedback from the
Yes,
the students that you worked with. The writing can be tricky because sometimes students may be making mistakes, but they don't realize they're making mistakes. And I think that
exactly.
yeah, it's important that somebody points out to them, well, this is not correct. You should write it this way. And then as soon as
Yeah.
you clear that stuff up, I mean, the marks will come. Okay, that's wonderful. So, and how much practicing did you find you needed to do, say per day or per week, leading up to your examination in
Well,
writing?
Well, I suppose I have to write at least two essays every day. Well, not two essays, just one task one and a task two every day.
Okay, great.
And I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but I feel like I've already got all the ammunition that I need to be successful with this test. And with your book, you just handed over me the gun. It was more
That's
like
an
this.
interesting analogy.
But when it comes to grammar and vocabulary and these kind of stuff, it can't be learned by reading any kind of reading any single book. You need to do extensive reading practice first
Yeah.
for you to get these vocabulary to get your grammar right.
Okay, so Sean, let's move on and talk about your listening and reading. Now, you
Right.
are perfect 9 students. We can't get any higher than that. So everybody listening, let's listen to what Sean has to say about this because he is the perfect student. He's got band 9 in both listening and reading.
Okay, I suppose when it comes to listening, here's the point. The fact I want to point out, it's like no matter how hard you try, how hard you practice, your listening can never possibly be as good as a native English speaker. I'm really sorry I have to point it out, but it is the truth. But there's always room for improvement. I mean, okay, so here's what I did for listening practice. Basically, you just find the Cambridge IELTS series and just do all those practice again and again and again until you couldn't do it anymore.
Now, Sean,
That's
when
my
you
strategy.
say do it again and again, do you mean do the same tests over and over until you get perfect on each of those tests, or do you mean do like a different
Yes,
test each?
something like that.
Yeah.
Because the Cambridge series, that's the only, well, authentic books out there about, the IELTS test. I'm not sure I'm saying it right, but
Yes. No. Yes, sure.
okay, this doesn't seem like the kind of answer you were hoping for, right? But
No,
it is what I did
Yeah.
by practicing those, well, Cambridge test papers again and again. That's what I did with listening. Also, I suppose when I was watching those American movies, I was doing the listening practice at the same time. Is it? Or
Yes, definitely.
okay.
Yeah. Okay, great. So
All
it's,
right.
it sounds like you just did a lot of repeated listenings, and to be honest with you, that is the exact same strategy that I'm constantly told by other students that have scored perfect band 9 in listening is just do test after test after test. Keep doing them until you get a perfect score on each. So I think that yes, your advice is very, very helpful and in keeping with what others have said.
Okay, I want to make a supplement about the listening strategy.
Okay.
It also goes with the reading test as well. That's what I said about details. If you really study those test papers a little bit, you're going to find out that each and every single question is about a detail, a specific detail somewhere in the material provided to you. And the thing is, even if you couldn't understand the whole picture, the big picture, you can still get the questions, get your answer right by focusing on the details. Okay, so I'm going to talk about reading. And again, it's all about practice. You're going to do the test again and again and again until you're proficient with every single detail. The Cambridge series would, obviously be the ideal option for you to practice upon. And apart from that, doing extensive reading at the same time. For example, I was reading this book about Patriot Games by Tom Clancy.
Okay.
These kind of novels. You can't let yourself to stop reading these stuff because they give you this freshness with your sense when it comes to reading. Not sure I'm saying it right.
So are you advising people do read these sorts of novels?
Yeah. Do some reading. Don't stop. At least do a bit of reading every single day. It can really help keeping that kind of sense or feeling.
Now, what would you suggest a student do if they get into a reading and they come across a word or maybe a phrase that they don't understand?
Well, it haven't happened to me before, but I suppose the sensible strategy would be, don't focus on the things you don't understand. Actually, focus on the questions.
Right.
That's the part where you need to worry about. You need to fully understand the questions. Actually, a sensible approach should be to read the questions thoroughly before reading the passage. And I don't really think there's a lot of complicated words about those questions. It's always nice and simple. It's the passage, the article, that's the hot part. And when it comes to stuff you don't understand, and it happened to be important, you can just try to guess what it means by the context the phrase is in. And okay.
Okay, that's very good advice. So I just want to actually go back because it was interesting the way that you answered that question. Now I asked you, what should a student do if they don't understand a word in the text? And you replied that this hasn't happened to you, which this signals to me and to I'm sure everyone listening that you really, really prepared deeply for this exam. And I think that well, it's true though. But I think students, are good to take that advice because with extreme preparation to really push themselves, they can get these perfect marks just like you did. So, Sean, how long did it take you to get through the reading exam? So, you're given an hour. How long did it take you? Did you use the whole hour?
Not really. It took me about 45 minutes, and for the last 10 minutes, I was just okay. So it's not over yet. I gotta wait.
Right. Okay.
It's more like this. I
So, was that
okay.
45 minutes? Did that include you reviewing your questions?
Yeah, I suppose I've done a bit of reviewing during the last few minutes
Hmm.
and corrected a few answers, possibly three or four answers. I
Hmm.
corrected them during the reviewing time.
Hmm.
Uh, okay.
Okay, well that's interesting too,
And
because that would mean, I guess, that perhaps they were originally errors, and you were able to catch the errors because you had this time to review.
actually, Ryan, you were talking about vocabulary before, right?
Yes.
The IELTS vocabulary. Here's my point. There's no standard vocabulary for the IELTS test. The more, the better. Which means when you're studying for stuff, you better, well, when it comes to stuff you don't understand, you better remember it.
Hmm.
Try to look it up in the dictionary, and whenever you come across those strange words, remember them and do it within the context. Don't just memorize the word individually. You gotta
Hmm.
have the context. That's the secret to boosting your vocabulary range.
Hmm. Okay, very, very good point. So, and now you had a personal dictionary that you were writing words down in and phrases. Is that correct?
Uh, Okay, I'm not sure if it is what you just described, but I have this software called Lingos, Lingoes, Lingos.
Okay, Ling.
It's
Okay.
basically just a electronic dictionary. It's a PC version. When I come across stuff I don't understand, I just look it up, and
Okay.
it come across and it came back with all the explanation I need,
Ah.
with sentences, explanation, and stuff.
Okay, great. And does it offer you pronunciation as well? Can you listen to the words and phrases?
Yeah, when I don't know how to pronounce it,
Yep.
pronounce a word, I would click
Okay, great.
pronounce the word right, and it would came back with the audio stuff.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, well, that is the end of the questions that I have. Is there anything else that you want to share, or do you think we've touched on everything as far as your experience is concerned?
Uh, Actually, I don't really think I have much experience with this test because all I've really done is quite preliminary. I think I'm still not done with the IELTS test before,
Yeah.
I, because I still need to take it again. So good luck with the candidates, whoever is out there, whoever is listening to this. Good luck. There's a long way to go. No shortcut, no easy way. You got to do it the hard way.
That is excellent
Okay.
advice. An 8.5 student. He's only taken the examination twice, and he's improved in two bands in just a couple of months. So this is the guy to listen to. If he tells you to study, you better study.
Okay.
Sean, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for getting in contact with me and for sharing all of this information with the online IELTS community.
Thanks, Ryan. I had a great time.
Thank you for downloading from ielts.com. Have you achieved an overall band of 7 or higher on the IELTS exam? Why not contribute to the podcast? Contact Ryan at his blog, ielts.com.